Happy 4th of July from the James White Fort. Here along the Hall of Fame Drive and right next to the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. And where else did you expect me to spend Independence Day 2025 here in Knoxville? The James White Fort was established by James White. He was from 100 acres of land that he was granted because of his work in the American Revolutionary War. A special event today features the local Stephen Holston chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. I'm looking forward to it. It should be quite a display here at the fort. So, Mom, grab the kids and let's go inside. And oh yeah, don't forget the old man.
They instead of 20 pounds, they put 40 pounds on me. So, okay. In 1837, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote in his poem Concord Hymn the following lines. Here once the embattled farmer stood and fired the shot heard round the world. With these words, Emerson immortalized the moment when ordinary colonists standing on the village green in Lexington and later on the North Bridge in Concord took up arms against the most powerful empire on earth. It was April 19th, 1775, a day that would ignite the American Revolution. The battles of Lexington and Concord were not just military skirmishes. They were the spark of a radical idea that people could govern themselves. British troops had marched out of Boston to seize colonial arms and arrest patriot leaders, but they were met by determined militiamen, and in the chaos of that morning, the first shots were fired. No one knows who pulled the trigger, but the echo of that musket fire reverberated across the colonies and around the world. In the months that followed, tensions escalated. The siege of Boston began. The Continental Congress convened, and in June 1775, the Battle of Bunker Hill proved that the colonists would not back down easily. By early 1776, the colonies were no longer merely resisting taxes or trade restrictions, they were envisioning a new nation. Thomas Paine's common sense swept through the colonies like wildfire, arguing that independence was not only necessary, but inevitable. On July 2nd, 1776, the Continental Congress voted in favor of independence. 2 days later, on July 4th, they adopted the Declaration of Independence, a document that would forever change the course of history. The Declaration was written by a group known as the Committee of Five: John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Robert Livingston, and Roger Sherman. Jefferson, the primary author, later said he didn't invent new ideas, he simply captured the spirit and beliefs of the American people. The document laid out the reasons why the colonies were breaking away from British rule, listing many injustices committed by King George III. The American Revolution would continue for several more years, culminating in victory at the Battle of Yorktown in 1781 and the signing of the Peace Treaty of Paris in 1783. In just over 2 decades after King George III took the throne, the American people had done something remarkable. They had created a new nation based on liberty, equality, and self-government. But we must also recognize that these founding ideals were not extended to everyone. At the time of independence, slavery was still deeply rooted in American society. Millions of people, especially African Americans, remained in bondage. Women, indigenous peoples, and others were denied their full rights and protections promised in the Declaration. It would take nearly a century through the Civil War and the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments before the country began to legally dismantle slavery and move closer to fulfilling its founding promise. Even then, the struggle for true equality continued well into the 20th century with women's suffrage and the civil rights movement, and it continues today. So you might ask, why does the Declaration still matter? Because it wasn't just a statement of rebellion. It was a declaration of purpose. And while it isn't a law, its words are powerful. It speaks of truths that should be self-evident, that all people are created equal and have rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The Declaration's message has endured as a moral compass, reminding each generation of the work still to be done to ensure liberty and justice for all. These ideas continue to inspire people around the world who seek freedom and dignity. Though written in a time of muskets and powdered wigs, the Declaration's message is timeless. It is meant not just for Americans, but for all people. As Thomas Jefferson said, this ball of liberty is now so well in motion that it will roll around the globe, for light and liberty go together. Today, as we prepare to hear these immortal words, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Let us remember the courage of those early patriots. I think of my own patriot ancestor who volunteered in 1776 to fight the British in New York and was taken prisoner at Fort Washington. I often wonder, would I have had the courage to put my life, my family's lives, and my property on the line, facing the overwhelming odds of defeating the most powerful nation on the earth at that time? Yet, from the farmers at Lexington to the delegates in Philadelphia, they dared to dream.
Detail, about face. Prime and load. Right, ready? Aim! Fire! Right, ready? Aim! Fire! Shoulder! Fire lock! Out, face! Face and look! Order! Fire lock! Detail, on.